Welcome to tonight's QI, where we're giving ourselves up to an evening of idleness and indolence. Joining me in the hammock with a large gin and tonic in this week's edition of Knitting Today, we have the inactive Ross Noble, the immobile Dara O'Brien, the indolent Jeremy Clarkson, and the simply inoperative Alan Davies. And should any of our panel feel the need to bother with their buzzers today, they sound like this. Ross goes, Dara goes, Jeremy goes, and Alan goes. I'm gonna go. It's that kind of a lazy day. And before we dive in, I should remind our panel of the Nobody Knows Joker.
Nobody knows.
Yes, for this series, there may be a question to which the answer actually is nobody knows. And if you think that I've just asked that question, then wave the question mark that Alan has just demonstrated. And with that, we might as well shamble along into a question. I've got my hands on the American nuclear trigger. Without putting yourselves to too much effort, see if you can tell me what the code is.
Secret trigger code.
The secret trigger code given to every American president between the years of 1960 and 1977.
I think that if you've got to remember it under pressure,
Yes.
and it would be a pressure situation,
Surely.
beginning the end of the world, it's got to be something quite simple.
It's 00000000. That literally was the code. 4 zeros twice, 8 zeros.
8 0.
I'm good at maths today. Yeah.
8 zeros. That was the password.
Is that because you're just about... It's the end of the world and you're going to go, oh. Did the president, when he's testing this, did he do the chip and pin, you know, that little dance you do when is the shopkeeper just looking at you and you kind of go...
Or pretend to press.
Or you do a bug, because I just do a cover.
No, because you don't notice polite shopkeepers now do this, which is what they call the penny chews. You just go like that and they do
I think it's pretend to do other numbers than the ones they're doing. Yeah.
So
you're there with the lovely Debbie McGee going...
Do your number, but while you're doing your number, you say a different number slightly under your breath, so you look like a bit of an...
Well, that's like you're all rubbing your tummy and patting your head.
Like
Yes, that is clever.
His number's 457.
But because the people I always most hated at school were those who, when they were writing in a test, did that.
Yeah.
As if one cared about what
That's
dribble they wrote.
because you're not an idiot.
Oh, no. It's just such a creepy way of behaving. So I always just do like that, grandly make sure that my number is...
I published mine in The Sun once. It went quite badly wrong.
That was very
I
funny.
couldn't understand it because they were complaining that everybody's bank details had been left on a train by a civil servant or somebody, and I thought, well, it doesn't make any difference because all they can do is make a deposit. So I published my number, and there you go, there's my bank account number. What are you going to do with that? And the Diabetic Society helped themselves to 500 quid.
Wow. As far as passwords are concerned, what do you think is the current state of advice? I'm sure everyone watching probably has passwords for anything from bank accounts to social media. What's the advice?
The advice is that you should always have a different password for every single thing that you have.
Right.
And they must always contain at least 8 digits, some of which should be numbers and some of which should be letters, and you mustn't write them down anywhere.
Exactly. That's the point. That kind of advice is useless because there really isn't a human being on the planet, certainly one wouldn't want to meet, who would be capable of holding all those in his head at the same time. And actually, the current advice is don't bother about writing it down because if you've written it down and you've got it in a drawer in your desk, you're more likely to have your password stolen online by malware than you are by a burglar getting into your house and seeing it's written down somewhere.
If you need lots of different ones for a lot of different things, do what I do and have each of the 7 dwarves.
Oh, you've given it away now.
also think a burglar breaking into your house is usually like a lot less interested in information theft
That's the point.
than is in selling your
that's
television.
exactly the point. I think it was oversold, this idea of writing it down being dangerous, because there is a complete mismatch between the kind of person who will get your password by using technology and the sort of person who breaks into your house to get your TV or whatever.
You've really got to watch them smackhead geeks. They're the ones. They're the real ones. They're like that with glasses on.
It's a small cadre of the population.
Have you noticed, have you ever tried to wire up a Wi-Fi router?
Oh, many times.
When you're on the phone to a man in India and he says, go and read the numbers off the back of the Wi-Fi
the MAC
router.
numbers.
Why does it have a password on the back of the router?
There's a default password that the routers have that you can change by going in using your web browser. You can access your...
Are you a help desk of some description?
I am a bloody hell. There's all my friends call me up with it. Just because I'm a boring nerd, but as it happens. But what you're saying is correct.
Have you tried turning it off?
Oh, the one that said, take the card out and hit it with your teeth. Have you had that one?
Hit it with your teeth?
Yeah, that.
What?
Yeah. And I just...
Oh,
He went.
spotted you.
I've got Jeremy Clarkson. Shove it up your arse. Go on.
You know that petrol you love so much? Pour it on your head. Now, have a cigarette. Go on.
The greatest danger when setting a password is thinking of a word that sounds cool at the time. Because you go, ooh, super spy. That'll be a good one. And suddenly you're in the movie, you go, oh, I have a whole other identity. That'll be amazing. I'll be the Raven. Oh, the Raven will be a good thing to protect. And you'll forget your spy name the next time you go to check your Hotmail account. Go, was it the Hawk? No. Was it the Eagle? No. Quick.
I've never been able to read these incomprehensible bits of scribbly writing that you're supposed to reproduce to show that you are not
Kachkas.
a bot. You know,
Kachkas are called.
Yes, that's right.
Kachkas
Yes,
are called.
Kachkas.
The favorite is the ones because apparently computers can't scan in and recognise a wavy tree or can't tell a kitten from a rabbit. Which is the weird thing, because humans can naturally go, it shows which of these are kittens, and you click, 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 and then the rabbit. But the robots have yet to work this out.
It's a web shape.
This is how we will win the war. Which of these cute animals do you like?
I think you've got a problem if it says, come up with a password, and you're just holding up kittens. The computer's probably confused.
I rubbed them off the screen. Is that not what you're supposed to do? Find as many kittens as the computer asks for. Let's hit them as an offering.
Lots of static electricity, just leave them there. Put them up there.
Do you know what? Static is only so strong. Over time, they will slowly begin to slide down.
You know what? That's exactly why I do it. I have a kitten and a puppy, and then I sit there and I bet on which one's going to hit. That's why I don't have a computer.
But it's strange how the biometric systems that have been in movies for at least 30 years, you know, retinal scans, thumbprints and so on, aren't really used. I mean, there are a lot of laptops that do ask for a thumb, but they haven't really taken off, have they?
Oh, I love the eye thing at airports.
Do you use this? Yeah.
Yes, and it's really good. Get very, very drunk on the plane, so your eyes are completely bloodshot. I'll never do it this time. I'm going to be locked in this box forever. And you know, it always knows it's me.
But I feel the best one to do in an airport, and it helps if you've got hair like mine, is you know that when you go through the first security bit and they take your photograph, what I do is I do a different hairstyle. And then change it for the next time. And then
whom do you think that's inconveniencing more? The security person or you? Who's the one who's having things looked up their bottom
I'll tell you what.
missing their flight?
Well, you know, there's only so much
Whatever
time
you
you can
can-
kill in duty-free. Why not shove something unusual up there, you know? Go on, guess what that is? Guess what it is?
I
Say what you see.
went to Gatwick. Went to Gatwick to go on a flight to Spain, and you know the way somebody behind you gets stopped and they go, "You've got fluids or whatever," or they go, "You can't do this," like whatever. And they said, and they all started laughing. And they said, "I'm sorry, sir, you can't bring this through, right?" And they took it, and it was like one of those 2-litre bottles of soft drink filled with water and a fish floating around.
They wanted to take their fish on holiday.
They brought their fish with them wherever they were going, right? And then you can see a man kind of going, the fish is grand. The fish is not the problem. But the fluid, I'm afraid you can't bring the fluid.
Are you sure it wasn't just a Japanese couple and that was their packed lunch?
You just have to drink a bit of the water.
To prove that this is...
Prove it's not a
Presumably
drink it
fish is
until
already
the bomb.
proving that it's not
Good thing. But evidently,
You know what? Fish don't swim in
they're
nitroglycerine.
cutting out been trained to swim in explosive fluid.
That is exactly how I found out that I really like baby food.
Yeah, that's
because
they make you eat
they say,
it.
"Can you eat a bit of the baby food?" And I went, "Yeah, all right." And I just, yeah. Oh, that's good. That. We'll get some more for the child. We'll give her peanuts.
Delicious. Stewed apple.
Oh yes,
Very
lovely.
fine. Anyway, yes, the point is, there's more chance of someone tracking your computer than breaking into your house, and the latest thinking is that you might be better off really choosing a complicated password and writing it down. So, since we've got nothing better to do, what about a board game? Why was Alfred's game so much more successful than Alfred's other game? And that is Alfred, who is quite well... Yes, Scrabble is the answer. Alfred Butts his
And
name.
he sold out for bugger all.
Well, it was an interesting story. He had the idea of the board and the 15 by 15 squares and the triple letter and double word and so on. And he made them himself. And in the early 50s, it was around in the shops of New York and it was a great success. It just so happened the chap who ran Macy's, the famous department store, he played it one Christmas and he went nuts for it. Absolute nuts for it. And the following year, it sold 4 million. It was the fastest and biggest growing game in the history of that genre of games. It just completely went wild. And all he got, I say all, was about $1,600,000, Butts, the inventor. But he never complained about it. He said it's perfectly fine. It allowed me to have a wonderful life, and he was proud of it. But he then produced another game, which he called Alfred's Other Game. And that, unfortunately, wasn't a hit, despite the lady in the black busty dress. The principle of the scoring is pretty obvious. He used the frequency of letters in English. The highest possible score you could have from one word has been worked out. I wonder if you know what that word might be. It seems unlikely.
Well, it depends if you're heading. The highest I ever got was underpass on 2 triple word scores.
That's very good. I did bezique once and got sort of 200.
Yes, you
200.
would do.
No, that was very low.
Well, you would do underpass,
Well, I
though,
thought it was
wouldn't you?
Underpass is good.
All clean words.
Well, you've got to use all 7 because you get the plus 50.
Yes, you've got to get the 50. But the most irritating thing about playing Scrabble with people is when they use words that aren't in common usage, that are in... They just, back in the early of this year,
yeah.
they announced that GRRL is now a word, but it isn't.
No, it isn't. And I basically have my house rule, which is you can't use a word you don't know the meaning of. I just don't think it's
No,
fair.
I go even further.
Some people just learn lists of words.
Okay.
Well, why do it? Why put in a word that you
Do
just...
you let people have the list of 2-letter words on the show?
No. Joe is a classic case in point. I know it
playing
means
with you.
love, but I never use the word Joe
No.
in conversation, therefore you can't have it. Or people who spell axe in the American way.
Without the E.
It's just no.
Do you know the most commonly played word in Scrabble?
Penis.
No.
It is in my house.
It's rather thrilling.
Gay.
No, not gay. It's a good word. It's a fine word.
Seven.
Even more
7 points.
QI! Thank you very much. Key is the most commonly played
Really?
word in Scrabble. Because it's a Q that doesn't need a U, and you can just put it next to an I, and if it's on a triple letter, you're immediately scoring
Yes, but
well.
it's not.
It's the Chinese for the life force, as you know. Well, if you could possibly play the word, and obviously it would involve intersecting with many other words, because it's longer than 7 letters, if you could get oxyphenylbutazone, there is a technical potential score of 1,178. Just for playing that.
And I bet you have. I bet you've done it.
I've never played that.
Is this called my bluff? Or
No,
Can I just point out, right? I'm
highest-
dyslexic. I've never played Scrabble. To me, playing Scrabble is essentially like decorating a bathroom.
Oh, yeah. That is